Now I'm going to tell you about the sequel to Romancing the Stone, The Jewel of the Nile. This is from 1985, so very quick follow-up. We've got everybody returning. They start out, they have Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner on their boat. She's trying to write a pirate romance novel and really having a tough time with it. And I think they're in France. Then there's this guy, Omar, shows up. And he's like some kind of emperor-to-be in the Middle East. I think they said Egypt, but people are clashing about the information on this. It says the architecture of the buildings doesn't look like Egypt, and the Arabic is Moroccan accent. Anyhow, she decides to join up with him. He proposes that she writes his like biography about him, and he's about to make peace in the Middle East. It's gonna be a big deal. She leaves Jack for a little bit, but it's not like they broke up. Now I should probably just refer to him as Michael Douglas. So, heads over to his place. She's told she can go anywhere, talk to anybody, whatever, but she finds out that the locals, not all of them like this guy. I guess that's usually the case with a dictator. They say that he's captured the jewel, bring back the jewel. And it's given away early on that the jewel, actually I guess by the time we find him, and yeah, the jewel's at him, at the 35-minute mark, we're told that this guy is this prisoner, he's the Jewel of the Nile, he's like a holy man. For some reason these tribes need him back. Like, I mean, he just seems kind of like an eccentric kind of dude, but you know, not important. I don't see how he's the key to anything. Then Jack and Danny DeVito, Danny DeVito is in prison as a result of what happened at the end of the previous movie. He's out now and he's teamed up with Michael Douglas for the sake of movie. And so now they're buddy-buddy. They head to go find Joan, and they're kind of under the assumption he's being held against her will ultimately, when they get some information from some guys who try to take out this Omar dude. And from that point up, it's pretty action-packed, really. Like, you got a scene with this F-16. It's not flying, but I mean, you don't see an F-16 used like this very often, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, just have some goose hissing at me. They shoot up this doorway with these missiles. She's like, you know, all right, yeah, you even know how to fly this thing? He's like, hey, it's not Space Invaders. He's shooting machine guns everywhere. And he tries to shoot a missile. He hits the missile release button, not the fire button. It's kind of funny. I mean, it's all right. You can see this being overdone with CGI today, that's for sure. And it's a good-looking movie too. This actually looks nicer than the previous film. And I think part of that goes to director of cinematography, Jan de Bont, who's really made some really good-looking movies in his time. It's kind of a shame that, like, after Speed 2 Cruise Control, he was basically kicked out of Hollywood. That sucks. So, they're traveling with this Jewel guy, meet up with some more tribes people. All these tribes guys, aside from the Nubians, who are clearly black, they're all like white people portraying Arabs. It's like kind of cultural insensitivity. I'm sure it's marring the film and its status today. But yeah, sure. They get held hostage by Omar. He puts him in a device, a trap that's kind of like one of Joan's books. Michael Douglas is like, what kind of sick person would think of an idea like this? She's like, oh, it's my idea, it was in my book, my bestseller. He's like, oh. You know, that's kind of alright, I guess. Danny DeVito gets back in on the scene. You know, he was kind of like catching up with them at this point, as they got separated fairly early. Inadvertently rescues them, then helps them defeat Omar, and everybody's good. And Danny DeVito's even invited to Joan Wilder and Michael Douglas. Yeah, I'm splitting names and actors. He's invited to their wedding at the end, and it's performed by The Jewel. Now, as MacGuffins go, this is one of the laziest, shittiest MacGuffins ever. Okay, so the guy is The Jewel. Maybe this should have been revealed at the very end of the movie. You know, maybe he should have had more power other than, there's some pyrotechnics went awry. I'll just walk through there real quick and look completely, I don't know, confused in the process. Like, oh, how did I get here? I'm just gonna keep walking. Now it's time to juggle. Whatever. Yeah, it feels very rushed. But I think if you like the first one, there's not much reason to say, hey, don't check out this one. I mean, this is also a PG film that has a lot of naked women in it due to this Nubian dance part. I'm giving Jewel of the Nile 2.5 out of 4 stars.